I couldn't believe the words that came out of my daughter's mouth. My own flesh and blood standing before me, laying down an ultimatum I never imagined hearing. Either you start paying rent or leave this house. Her words echoed, a relentless reminder of how far we'd drifted apart. It wasn't always like this between Caroline and me. I was a devoted mother, always trying my best after my husband, Robert, passed away. Losing him was like losing a part of myself, but I held on for my daughter. Our old house in Ohio was filled with memories, baking apple pies every Sunday and Christmas mornings by the crackling fireplace. Yet now, that warmth felt distant. Every morning, I brewed a pot of coffee, just like Robert used to do before heading out for his morning jog. It was a small comfort, a piece of the past I could still hold on to. As I sat at the kitchen table, looking at the chair that used to be his, Caroline walked in, her eyes glued to her phone, barely acknowledging my presence. Our once lively conversations were reduced to civil exchanges about bills and groceries. Caroline's attitude had been changing for months, but I attributed it to stress from work. Until that day, I hadn't realized how much resentment had grown between us. She often stayed out late, and when she did spend time at home, it was as if I was invisible. In moments of solitude, surrounded by our family photos, I found myself yearning for the days when laughter filled our home. This is the journey of how the bonds of motherhood turned into shackles of misunderstanding. If you believe that family should never be the source of your anguish, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, because this story is far from over and justice is bound to find its way. As I sat there, staring at the empty chair across the kitchen table, the sting of Caroline's words still burned in my chest. The ultimatum, pay rent or leave, hung in the air like a storm cloud that refused to dissipate. I couldn't wrap my mind around how we'd come to this. My daughter, the little girl I'd cradled through nightmares and cheered on at every school play, now saw me as a burden, a tenant in my own home, the home I'd fought to keep after Robert's death, the one I'd poured every ounce of my savings and heart into. I took a sip of the bitter coffee, the taste grounding me in the moment, and glanced at the old wooden table, scarred from years of family dinners. It was more than just furniture. It was a witness to our history, a history that seemed to mean nothing to Caroline now. The house itself felt like the last tether to the life I'd once known. Every creaky floorboard, every chipped paint spot on the walls, every faded photo on the mantel, they were pieces of Robert, of our family, of the love that had once filled these rooms. Losing this house would be like losing him all over again. It wasn't just a roof over my head. It was the embodiment of every sacrifice I'd made to give Caroline a stable life after we buried her father. And now, she wanted to strip that away from me, to turn our sanctuary into a transaction. I couldn't help but wonder if this was her way of punishing me for something I didn't even understand. Caroline had already left for work by the time I finished my coffee, the silence in the house heavier than ever. I wandered into the living room, my eyes catching on the framed photo of the three of us, Robert, Caroline, and me, taken at a county fair when she was just 6. Her toothy grin, Robert's arm around my shoulder, the sticky cotton candy on her fingers, it was a snapshot of pure joy. I traced the edge of the frame with my fingertip, a lump forming in my throat. How had we gone from that to this? I knew she'd been struggling since she started her job at the local real estate agency, always on edge about quotas and commissions, but I never imagined her stress would manifest as resentment toward me. It started with small things, microaggressions I tried to brush off at first. She'd come home late and snap at me for leaving a dish in the sink, her tone sharp and dismissive, as if I were a child who couldn't clean up after myself. "Mom, can't you just do one thing right?" She'd mutter under her breath, loud enough for me to hear but quiet enough to pretend she didn't mean it. Or the way she'd roll her eyes when I tried to start a conversation about our day, cutting me off with a curt, "I'm tired, okay? I don't have time for this." Each jab chipped away at the bond I'd thought was unbreakable. I told myself it was just a phase, that she was under pressure, but deep down, I knew it was more than that. There was a coldness in her now, a hardness in her eyes that hadn't been there before, and I couldn't help but feel that it was directed at me, as if I'd done something unforgivable without even knowing it. I didn't have anyone else to lean on in this house. Caroline's boyfriend, Jake, had been around more lately, and I'd hoped he might be a buffer, someone who could soften the tension between us. But Jake was a quiet man, almost too quiet, always avoiding eye contact and mumbling responses when I tried to engage him. He'd sit on the couch, scrolling through his phone, while Caroline vented about her day or, more often, about me. I'd overheard her once, complaining to him about how I didn't pull my weight around the house, how I was just taking up space. Jake didn't defend me, didn't even look up from his screen. He just nodded, letting her words hang unchallenged. I couldn't tell if he agreed with her or if he simply didn't want to get involved, but his silence felt like complicity. It hurt more than I expected, realizing that even an outsider in our home wouldn't stand up for me. Jake's passivity made Caroline's hostility feel even more suffocating, like I was trapped in a room with no air, no allies. Desperate for a reprieve, I decided to call my old friend Linda later that afternoon. Linda and I had known each other since high school, and she'd been my rock after Robert's passing. She lived just a few streets over, in a small bungalow with her husband, and her warm, no-nonsense attitude always made me feel seen. I dialed her number, my hands trembling slightly as I held the phone to my ear. When she picked up, her voice was like a lifeline. "Hey, stranger, I was just thinking about you. How's it going over there?" I hesitated, the words catching in my throat. I didn't want to burden her, but I couldn't hold it in any longer. "Linda, I don't know what to do. Caroline and we're not okay. She told me this morning that I need to start paying rent or get out of the house. My own daughter, Linda. I don't even know who she is anymore." There was a pause on the other end, and I could almost picture Linda's furrowed brow, her lips pressed into a thin line. "What? That's insane, Ellen. She can't just kick you out of your own home. You've been through enough. What's gotten into her?" "I don't know," I admitted, my voice breaking. "She's been so cold lately, snapping at me over every little thing. It's like she resents me for even existing. I keep thinking back to when Robert was alive, when we were a family, and I don't understand how we got here. I've tried talking to her, but she shuts me down every time. And Jake, her boyfriend, he's no help. He just sits there, letting her say whatever she wants about me." Linda sighed deeply. "That's not right, Ellen. You don't deserve this. Have you considered that maybe Caroline's dealing with something bigger, something she's not telling you? People don't just turn on their mothers like this without a reason. Not that it excuses her behavior, but maybe there's more to it." Her words lingered in my mind long after we hung up. Was there something I didn't know? I couldn't shake the feeling that Caroline's resentment wasn't just about money or stress. There was a bitterness in her tone, a sharpness that felt personal, like a wound I'd inflicted without realizing it. I spent the rest of the day replaying our interactions, searching for clues. Had I been too overbearing after Robert died? Had I leaned on her too much when she was just a teenager grieving her father? Or was it something else? Something tied to the house itself, this sacred space that held all our memories. The house. It always came back to the house. It wasn't just a building. It was the last piece of Robert I had left. After he passed, I'd taken on extra shifts at the library, scrimped and saved to keep up with the mortgage. Also, Caroline could grow up in the same place where we'd built our life. I'd thought she understood what it meant to me, to us. But now, her ultimatum made me question everything. Did she see the house as nothing more than a financial burden, a piece of property to be leveraged? Or was there something deeper, a hidden motive behind her demand for rent? That evening, Caroline came home later than usual, the sound of her car pulling into the driveway pulling me out of my thoughts. I was in the kitchen, washing dishes, when she walked in, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. She didn't say hello, didn't even look at me as she dropped her bag on the counter and headed straight for the fridge. The silence was deafening, but I couldn't let it stand. I needed answers. "Caroline," I started, my voice softer than I intended. "Can we talk about this morning? About what you said?" She froze for a moment, her hand on the fridge door, before turning to face me. Her expression was unreadable, a mask of indifference. "What's there to talk about, Mom?" I meant what I said. "This house isn't cheap, and I'm the one paying most of the bills now. It's only fair that you contribute. Or, find somewhere else to go." Her words cut deeper than a knife, each syllable laced with a coldness I couldn't fathom. I gripped the edge of the sink, steadying myself. "This isn't just a house, Caroline. This is our home. Your father and I built our life here. I've fought to keep it for us, for you. How can you just dismiss that?" She scoffed, crossing her arms. "Don't bring Dad into this. He's not here, okay? And I'm tired of carrying the weight of this place on my own. You sit around all day, living in the past, while I'm out there working my ass off. Do you even know how much the property taxes have gone up? Or the maintenance costs? I can't do this alone anymore. So, yeah, pay up or get out. It's that simple." I felt my chest tighten, a mix of anger and heartbreak swelling inside me. "Caroline, I'm not just some tenant. I'm your mother. I've sacrificed everything to give you a stable life after we lost your father. How can you talk to me like this?" Her eyes narrowed, and for the first time that night, I saw a flicker of something anger, maybe, or something darker. "Sacrifice? That's all I ever hear from you. How you gave up everything for me." "But what about what I've given up, Mom? Did you ever think about that? Did you ever ask what I wanted? Or were you too busy playing the martyr?" Her words hit me like a slap, leaving me speechless. What had she given up? What was she talking about? Before I could respond, she turned on her heel and stormed out of the kitchen, leaving me alone with the sound of my own ragged breathing. I stood there frozen, replaying her accusations in my mind. There was something in her tone, a hidden weight to her words, that made me question everything I thought I knew about our relationship. Over the next few days, the tension in the house grew thicker, an invisible wall separating us. Caroline barely spoke to me, and when she did, it was always about money, how much I owed, how I needed to step up. Her microaggressions became more frequent, more pointed. She'd leave bills on the kitchen table with sticky notes scrawled in her handwriting. "Your share, due Friday." She'd mutter comments about how some people needed to stop living in the past and start pulling their weight. Each remark was a tiny cut, a reminder of how little I seemed to matter to her now. Jake, as always, remained a silent spectator. One evening, I caught him watching me as I cleaned up after dinner, his expression unreadable. I tried to make conversation, hoping to find some common ground. "Jake, do you think Caroline's okay? I mean, really okay? She seems different lately." He shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my gaze. I don't know. She's stressed, I guess. Work's been tough." I try not to get in the middle of, family stuff." His words trailed off, and he quickly excused himself, leaving me with the sinking realization that I couldn't count on him for support. His refusal to engage, his willingness to let Caroline's hostility go unchecked, made me feel even more isolated in my own home. I started to notice other things too, small, unsettling details that hinted at something deeper. One afternoon, while Caroline was at work, I found a stack of papers on the dining table, half hidden under a pile of mail. They were property listings, real estate brochures with circled addresses and scribbled notes about market value and potential buyers. My heart sank as I realized what they meant. Was she planning to sell the house? Was that what this was about, turning our family home into a profit? I couldn't confront her without proof, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Her ultimatum, her obsession with money, it all started to feel like part of a larger plan, one she wasn't sharing with me. The breaking point came a week later, on a rainy Saturday evening. I'd spend the day sorting through old boxes in the attic, trying to distract myself from the constant weight of Caroline's resentment. I found an old scrapbook Robert had made for Caroline's 10th birthday, filled with photos and little notes he'd written to her. I brought it downstairs, hoping it might spark a moment of connection between us, a reminder of happier times. Caroline was in the living room, laptop open, when I approached her. "Hey, I found something today," I said, holding out the scrapbook. It's from your dad. I thought you might want to look through it with me. She didn't even look up from her screen. Not now, Mom. I'm busy. I pressed on, desperate for any crack in the wall between us. Please, Caroline, just for a minute. It's important to me. She slammed her laptop shut, her eyes blazing as she finally met my gaze. What is it with you and the past? You can't let anything go, can you? Dad's gone, Mom. He's not coming back. And neither is the life we had. Stop dragging me into your nostalgia. I'm trying to move forward, to make something of this house, this life, and all you do is hold me back. You're a weight around my neck, and I'm done carrying you. Her words were a punch to the gut, each one laced with a venom I'd never heard from her before. I clutched the scrapbook to my chest, tears welling in my eyes. Caroline, how can you say that? I'm your mother. I've only ever wanted what's best for you. She stood up, her voice rising. What's best for me? You don't even know what that is. You've been so wrapped up in your grief in this house that you never notice what I needed. I've been drowning under the weight of your expectations, your memories, and I'm done. If you can't pay your way, if you can't let go of this shrine to Dad, then maybe it's time you leave. Because I'm not going to let you drag me down anymore. I staggered back, the scrapbook slipping from my hands and hitting the floor with a dull thud. The room spun around me as her words echoed in my mind. This wasn't just about rent. This was about something deeper. A resentment that had been festering for years. A betrayal I hadn't seen coming. I looked into her eyes, searching for any trace of the daughter I knew, but all I saw was anger, cold and unyielding. As the rain pounded against the windows, I realized that this was only the beginning. The house, the memories, the bond I'd thought was unbreakable, they were all slipping through my fingers, and I had no idea how to fight for them, or if I even could. But one thing was clear. Caroline's ultimatum wasn't just a demand. It was a declaration of war, one I wasn't sure I could win. The rain continued to hammer against the windows, a relentless drumbeat that mirrored the turmoil in my chest. I stood there, frozen in the living room, the scrapbook still lying on the floor where it had fallen. Caroline's words echoed in my mind, each one a jagged edge tearing at the fragile threads of our relationship. You're a weight around my neck, and I'm done carrying you. I couldn't fathom how my own daughter, the child I'd raised with every ounce of love and sacrifice, could see me as nothing more than a burden. The house around me, once a sanctuary of warmth and memories, now felt like a battlefield, every creak of the floorboards a warning of the war that had just been declared. I bent down slowly, my joints aching with more than just age, and picked up the scrapbook. My fingers trembled as I brushed the dust off the cover, the faded image of Robert's handwriting staring back at me. For my Caroline, my brightest star, it read. A sob caught in my throat as I clutched it to my chest, as if holding onto it could somehow bring back the family we'd once been. But the reality was undeniable. Caroline wasn't the little girl in these pictures anymore. She was a stranger, one who saw this house, these memories, as nothing more than obstacles in her path. And I was the biggest obstacle of all. The next morning, I woke to the sound of Caroline's car engine revving in the driveway. I hadn't slept much, my mind replaying our argument over and over, searching for a crack in her armor, a hint of the daughter I knew. But there was nothing, just cold, unrelenting anger. I dragged myself out of bed, the weight of the previous night pressing down on me, and made my way to the kitchen. The table was empty, no coffee mug waiting for me. No sign of the small rituals that had once defined our mornings together. Instead, there was a single piece of paper on the counter, folded neatly with my name scrawled across it in Caroline's sharp handwriting. I hesitated, my heart pounding as I unfolded it. The words were stark, clinical, as if she'd stripped away any trace of emotion. Mom, I've thought about this long and hard. I've decided it's time to sell the house. I've already contacted a realtor, and we have an offer on the table. It's a good deal, more than enough to set us both up elsewhere. I need you to sign the paperwork by the end of the week. If you don't, I'll have to take legal steps to force the sale. I'm sorry, but this is for the best. Caroline. I read the note 3 times. each pass making my hands shake harder. Sell the house? My home. Robert's home. The place where we'd built our life together. The walls around me seemed to close in, the air growing thick with the weight of her betrayal. This wasn't just about rent anymore. This was about erasing everything I held dear, turning our shared history into nothing more than a line item on a balance sheet. I crumpled the paper in my fist, anger bubbling up alongside the grief. How could she do this? How could she think I'd just sign away the last piece of Robert, the last piece of us? I couldn't let this stand. I wouldn't. For the first time in weeks, a spark of defiance ignited within me, small but fierce. I'd spent too long tiptoeing around Caroline's moods, swallowing her barbs, hoping for a reconciliation that never came. But this was a line I wouldn't cross. This house wasn't just brick and mortar. It was the embodiment of every sacrifice I'd made, every tear I'd shed to keep our family together after Robert's death. I'd be damned if I let her take it from me without a fight. I waited until Caroline came home that evening, the note still crumpled in my pocket. She walked in around 7, her face set in that same unreadable mask she'd worn for weeks. She didn't acknowledge me as she dropped her bag on the counter and started rifling through the fridge, the silence between us heavier than ever. I took a deep breath, steadying myself, and stepped forward. Caroline, I got your note, I said, my voice firmer than I expected. And the answer is no, I'm not signing anything. This house is my home, our home. I fought too hard to keep it, and I'm not going to let you sell it out from under me. She froze, her hand pausing on a bottle of water before turning to face me. Her eyes narrowed, a flicker of irritation crossing her face. Mom, you don't get it, do you? This isn't just about you. I can't keep sinking money into this place. The market's hot right now, and we'd be idiots not to take advantage of it. We could both start fresh, get out from under this. This weight. This weight? I repeated, my voice rising despite myself. This house isn't a weight, Caroline. It's our history. It's where your father and I raised you, where we laughed and cried and built a life. How can you just dismiss that? How can you be so willing to throw it all away? She slammed the fridge door shut, the sound echoing through the kitchen. Because I'm not living in the past like you are. Dad's gone, Mom. He's been gone for years. And I'm sorry, but I can't keep pretending that holding onto this house is going to bring him back. I need to move on, and if you can't see that, then maybe you're the one who needs to go. Her words stung, but I refused to back down. I'm not going anywhere, Caroline. I'm your mother, and this is my home as much as it is yours. I've poured everything I have into keeping it for us, for you. I won't let you erase that just because you've decided it's inconvenient. If you want to sell, you'll have to do it over my dead body. Her jaw tightened, and for a moment, I thought I saw a flash of uncertainty in her eyes. But it was gone as quickly as it came, replaced by that cold, hard resolve I'd come to dread. Fine, she said, her voice low and dangerous. If that's how you want to play it, I'll get a lawyer. I'll prove this house is more mine than yours since I've been paying the bills. You can't stop this, Mom. It's happening whether you like it or not. She turned on her heel and stormed out of the kitchen, leaving me trembling with a mix of anger and fear. I gripped the edge of the counter, my knuckles white, as her footsteps faded down the hall. This wasn't just a disagreement anymore. It was a full-blown battle, and I was standing on the front lines alone. Desperate for any kind of support, I turned to the only other person in the house who might listen, Jake. He'd been sitting on the couch in the living room, as usual, his phone in hand, pretending not to hear the argument that had just unfolded. I walked over to him, my heart pounding, and sat down on the armchair across from him. Jake, I need to talk to you, I said, my voice softer now, pleading. You heard what Caroline said. She wants to sell the house, my home. I know you don't like getting involved, but I'm begging you. Can you talk to her? Make her see what this place means to me. He shifted uncomfortably, his eyes flicking up from his phone for just a second before dropping back down. Ellen, I don't know. Caroline's pretty set on this. She's been talking about it for a while now, saying it's the only way to get ahead. I don't think I can change her mind. And honestly, I don't want to get caught in the middle of this. It's between you two. His words were a punch to the gut, a confirmation of the isolation I'd felt for weeks. I stared at him, hoping for even a flicker of empathy, but there was nothing. Just that same detached neutrality that made me feel invisible. "Jake, please," I pressed, my voice breaking. "I'm losing everything. I just need someone in my corner, just for a moment. Can't you see how much this hurts me?" He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "I'm sorry, Ellen. I really am. But I can't. Caroline's my girlfriend, and I'm not gonna risk what we have by picking sides. You'll figure this out. You always do." With that, he stood up, mumbling something about needing to grab something from upstairs, and left me sitting there, the weight of his refusal settling over me like a shroud. I was alone, truly alone. Linda's words from days earlier echoed in my mind. Maybe Caroline was dealing with something bigger, something I didn't know. But even if that were true, it didn't excuse this. It didn't justify her trying to strip away the last piece of my life with Robert. And Jake's refusal to help, his willingness to stand by while Caroline waged war against me, only deepened the sense of betrayal. I had no allies in this house, no one to turn to. If I was going to fight for my home, I'd have to do it on my own. Over the next few days, the tension in the house became unbearable. Caroline didn't speak to me unless it was to remind me of the deadline to sign the paperwork. Her tone clipped and impersonal, like she was addressing a stranger. She left more notes, more reminders, each one a jab at my resolve. "Realtor coming Thursday. Be ready to discuss terms," one read. Another, scrawled on a sticky note stuck to the fridge, "Last chance to sign without a fight. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Each message was a brick in the wall she was building between us, a wall I didn't know how to break through. I spent hours pacing the house, running my hands over the familiar surfaces, the worn banister Robert had carved our initials into, the chipped paint in the hallway where Caroline had once drawn with crayons, the mantel where our family photos still stood. Every inch of this place held a memory, a piece of the life I'd fought so hard to preserve. I couldn't let her take it. I wouldn't. But I also knew I couldn't keep living like this, under constant threat, waiting for the next blow to fall. The final confrontation came on Thursday evening, the night the realtor was supposed to arrive. I'd spend the day preparing myself, rehearsing what I'd say, steeling myself for the inevitable clash. Caroline came home early, dressed in a crisp blazer, her hair pulled back in a tight bun, looking every bit the professional ready to close a deal. She didn't even glance at me as she walked in, heading straight for the dining room where she'd laid out a stack of papers. I followed her, my heart pounding, the crumpled note from days earlier still burning a hole in my pocket. "Caroline, I'm not signing anything," I said before she could speak, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "I've told you, this house isn't for sale. Not now. Not ever. You can bring in 100 realtors, 100 lawyers, but I'm not giving up my home." She looked up from the papers, her expression a mix of frustration and disdain. "Mom, stop being so dramatic. This isn't about you. It's about what's practical, what's smart. We can't afford to keep this place, and I'm not going to let your nostalgia tank my future. Sign the damn papers, or I'll have no choice but to escalate this. I've already talked to a lawyer, and they say I have a strong case since I've been the primary payer on the mortgage for the last few years." Her words were a calculated blow, meant to intimidate, to make me feel powerless. But instead, they lit a fire in me, a rage I hadn't felt in years. I stepped closer, my hands trembling not with fear but with fury. "Escalate it then. Do whatever you think you need to do, Caroline. But let me make one thing clear, I'm not just fighting for a house. I'm fighting for the life your father and I built, for the memories we made here as a family. And I'm fighting for the daughter I thought I knew, the one who wouldn't dream of betraying her own mother like this." "What happened to you? When did you become so cold, so willing to throw away everything that matters just for a paycheck?" Her face faltered for a split second, a crack in her armor, but she quickly masked it with a scoff. "Don't try to guilt-trip me, Mom. I'm not betraying anyone. I'm surviving, something you've never understood. You've been so busy clinging to the past that you didn't notice I've been drowning under the weight of this house, of your grief, of everything. I'm done being your anchor. Sign the papers. or I'll make sure you regret it." That was the moment I snapped. All the pain, the hurt, the weeks of silence and microaggressions boiled over, spilling out in a torrent I couldn't stop. Regret it? The only thing I regret is thinking you still had a heart, Caroline. I've watched you turn into someone I don't even recognize, someone who'd rather sell her family's legacy than fight for it. You think this is about money? About survival? No. This is about you punishing me for something I don't even understand. What did I do to make you hate me so much? Was it because I grieved too long? Because I leaned on you after your father died? Tell me, because I deserve to know why my own daughter looks at me like I'm nothing. My voice broke on the last word, tears streaming down my face, but I didn't care. I was done holding back, done pretending everything was okay. Caroline stared at me, her mouth opening and closing as if she couldn't find the words. For the first time, I saw something flicker in her eyes, guilt, maybe, or shame, but it wasn't enough to stop her. She straightened, her jaw tightening, and pushed the papers toward me. This isn't about hate, Mom. It's about necessity. Sign, or I'll do what I have to do. I shoved the papers back at her, the stack scattering across the table. Then do it. Take me to court. Drag me through hell. But I'm not giving up without a fight. This house is all I have left of your father, of our family, and I'll be damned if I let you take it from me. You want to erase the past? Fine, but you'll have to erase me first. The room fell silent, the air thick with the weight of our words. Caroline's face was unreadable. Her hands clenched at her sides, and for a moment, I thought she might strike back, might say something even crueler. But she didn't. Instead, she turned and walked out of the room, leaving the papers scattered on the table like the wreckage of our relationship. I sank into a chair, my legs trembling, my heart racing. I'd said what I needed to say, laid bare the pain and anger that had been festering for weeks. But it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like the end of something, the final shattering of the bond I'd once thought was unbreakable. The house around me stood silent, a witness to our war, and I couldn't help but wonder if I'd just lost my daughter for good. But one thing was certain: I wasn't backing down. This was my home, my history, my last connection to Robert, and I'd fight for it with everything I had, even if it meant standing alone against the person I loved most in the world. The rain outside had stopped, but the storm within me was just beginning. I sat there at the dining room table, the scattered papers a stark reminder of the battle lines drawn between Caroline and me. My hands were still trembling, not from fear now, but from the raw energy of standing my ground. The silence in the house was suffocating, broken only by the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Caroline had walked away, her footsteps echoing down the hall until they faded into nothing. I knew this wasn't the end. If anything, it was the beginning of a fight I couldn't afford to lose. This house, these walls, the memories etched into every corner, they were worth more to me than any amount of money Caroline could gain from selling it. I'd lost Robert, and now it felt like I was losing her too. But I wouldn't let her take the last piece of our family from me. The next morning, I woke with a resolve I hadn't felt in years. My eyes were puffy from crying, my body heavy with exhaustion, but my mind was clear. I couldn't fight this battle alone, not against Caroline's threats of legal action and her cold determination. I needed help, someone who understood the law, someone who could stand with me against the storm she was brewing. I thought of Linda, my rock through so many hardships, and decided to call her again. If anyone could point me in the right direction, it would be her. I dialed her number with shaky fingers, praying she'd pick up. "Ellen? Hey, I've been worried about you." Linda's voice came through, warm and grounding as always. "What's going on? Did things get any better with Caroline?" I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "No, Linda, they've gotten worse. She's trying to sell the house. She left me a note saying she's already got an offer and a realtor, and if I don't sign the paperwork, she'll take me to court. I told her I'm not signing, but she's not backing down. She's got a lawyer, and I don't know what to do. I can't lose this house. It's all I have left of Robert, of our life." There was a long pause on the other end, and I could almost hear Linda thinking, processing the weight of what I'd just said. Ellen, that's not right. She can't just force you out of your own home like that. You've got rights, especially since you've been living there and contributing for years, even if she's been paying more recently. Listen, I know someone who can help. My cousin, Mark, is a family law attorney. He specializes in property disputes and inheritance issues. He's helped people in situations like this before. I'm going to give you his number, and I want you to call him today. Don't wait. You need someone in your corner who knows the law. I scribbled down Mark's contact information on a scrap of paper, my heart pounding with a mix of hope and fear. Thank you, Linda. I don't know what I'd do without you. I'm scared. What if I can't afford a lawyer? What if Caroline's right and she has a stronger case because she's been paying the bills? Ellen, stop that, Linda said firmly. Mark will talk to you, and he'll figure out a way to make it work. He's a good guy, and he's seen cases like this before. You've got history on your side, and you've got the emotional stake in that house. Don't let Caroline intimidate you into thinking you've already lost. Call him now and keep me updated, okay? I'm here for you. After hanging up, I stared at the number on the paper for a long moment, my mind racing. A lawyer, legal action. This was real now. A tangible step toward defending what was mine. I couldn't let fear hold me back. With a deep breath, I dialed Mark's number. He answered on the third ring, his voice calm and professional. I explained everything: the house, Robert's death, Caroline's ultimatum, the threat to sell, her claim of having a stronger legal standing because of her financial contributions. Mark listened patiently, asking pointed questions about the deed, the mortgage history, and my contributions over the years, both financial and otherwise. Ellen, based on what you're telling me, you have a solid case to fight this, Mark said after I'd finished. In most states, including ours, property disputes between family members take into account more than just who's been paying the bills. Your name is on the deed, correct? And you've lived there continuously since your husband passed, maintaining the home and contributing in non-monetary ways, like upkeep and emotional investment in the family's legacy. That matters. Caroline can't just force a sale without your consent, especially if you're a co-owner. I'd like to meet with you in person to go over the paperwork and start building a case. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning? I agreed, feeling a flicker of relief for the first time in weeks. Mark's confidence gave me something to hold on to, a lifeline in the chaos. That night, I barely slept, my mind running through every possible outcome. What if Caroline fought dirty? What if she had proof of her payments that outweighed my contributions? But I pushed those thoughts aside. I had to trust Mark, trust the process, and most importantly, trust myself. I'd fought for this house before, after Robert's death, working double shifts and scraping by to keep the mortgage paid. I could fight for it again. The meeting with Mark the next day was a whirlwind of legal terms and strategies, but he broke it down in a way I could understand. He explained that since my name was on the deed alongside Caroline's, something Robert and I had done years ago to ensure she'd inherit the house if anything happened to us, she couldn't sell without my signature. He also pointed out that my history of contributions, even if not recent, combined with my status as a widow and primary caregiver during Caroline's childhood, gave me a strong emotional and legal claim to remain in the home. We'll file for a temporary injunction to prevent any sale while we mediate or, if necessary, go to court, Mark said, his tone reassuring, and I'll draft a document outlining your rights as a co-owner and resident. If Caroline wants to push this, she'll have to prove that forcing a sale is in both of your best interests, which will be hard given your history with the property. For the first time, I felt like I had a real weapon in this fight, a legal document, a piece of power that could stand up to Caroline's threats. But Mark also warned me that this process could take time, and emotions would run high. Ellen, I've seen family disputes like this tear relationships apart. I'm not saying you shouldn't fight for your home, but I want you to be prepared for the toll it might take. Have you considered stepping away for a bit, getting some space to clear your head while we start the legal process? Sometimes, a little distance can give you perspective, and it might even force Caroline to show her true intentions. His words stuck with me as I drove home. Stepping away. The idea felt like both a retreat and a strategy. I couldn't keep living under the same roof with Caroline, not with the constant tension, the notes, the cold glares. Maybe some distance would help me regroup, help me see the situation with fresh eyes, and maybe, just maybe, it would push Caroline to reveal more of her hand, whether her desperation to sell was truly about money, or if there was something deeper driving her resentment. That evening, I made the decision to leave temporarily. I called Linda and asked if I could stay with her for a few weeks while Mark worked on the injunction. "Of course, Ellen. You don't even have to ask," she said without hesitation. "Pack a bag and come over tonight. We'll figure this out together." I packed light. Just a small suitcase with essentials and a few keepsakes: Robert's old watch, a photo of the three of us at the county fair, the scrapbook Caroline had rejected so harshly. Before leaving, I wrote a short note for Caroline and left it on the kitchen table. "I'm staying with a friend for a while to give us both space. I'm not giving up on this house, or on us. I hope you'll think about what this means to me." Mom. Walking out the door felt surreal. The house loomed behind me, a silent witness to my departure, and I couldn't help but wonder if I was making the right choice. But as I drove to Linda's, a strange calm settled over me. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't under Caroline's scrutiny, wasn't bracing for the next argument. Linda welcomed me with open arms, a hot cup of tea, and a listening ear. Over the next few days, I poured out everything: the pain, the betrayal, the fear of losing not just the house but my daughter. Linda didn't judge, didn't offer empty platitudes. She just listened, and that alone was enough to help me start piecing myself back together. Meanwhile, Mark worked quickly. He filed the injunction within a week, sending a copy to Caroline with a formal letter outlining my rights as a co-owner and requesting mediation before any further steps were taken. I didn't hear from Caroline directly, but Linda kept an ear out through mutual acquaintances in the neighborhood. Word is, she's furious about the injunction, Linda told me one evening over dinner. She's been ranting to anyone who'll listen about how you're holding her back and refusing to see reason. She even had the realtor over again, but they couldn't do anything without your signature. "I think she's starting to realize she can't just bulldoze over you." Linda's words were a small victory, but they also revealed Caroline's desperation. Her persistence with the realtor, her anger at the injunction, it all pointed to a need to sell that went beyond just financial strain. Was she in debt? Was there something at work pushing her to liquidate assets? I didn't know, but her behavior only strengthened my resolve. If she was desperate, it meant she wasn't as in control as she pretended to be, and that gave me an edge. During my time at Linda's, I also started to reflect on my relationship with Caroline in a way I hadn't been able to while living under the same roof. I replayed our arguments, her accusations, the bitterness in her voice when she'd said I'd been a weight around her neck. I began to wonder if Linda had been right all along. Maybe there was something bigger behind her resentment, something I'd missed in my own grief and struggle. Had I been too focused on preserving the past to notice what she needed in the present? The thought gnawed at me, but it didn't change the fact that her actions were wrong. Selling the house without my consent, treating me like a burden, these weren't just misunderstandings. They were betrayals. Still, I couldn't shake the hope that somewhere beneath her anger, my daughter was still there, waiting to be reached. 3 weeks after I left, Mark called with news. "Ellen, the injunction has been granted by the court. Caroline can't proceed with any sale or transfer of property without your agreement or a court order. We've also scheduled a mediation session for next month. I strongly recommend you attend, even if it's just to show good faith. It's a chance to lay out your side and, if possible, come to an agreement without a full-blown trial. But if mediation fails, we're prepared to fight in court." I've also compiled a detailed record of your contributions to the house, financial records from after Robert's death, proof of maintenance, even testimonies from neighbors about your role in maintaining the family home. It's a strong case, Ellen. You've got the upper hand now. The weight of his words hit me like a wave. The injunction was my document of power, a legal shield protecting my home, at least for now. It was time to return, to face Caroline with this new strength. I thanked Mark and told Linda the news. I'm proud of you, Ellen, she said, squeezing my hand. You've fought for what's yours, and you're not done yet. Go back there with your head held high. Show her you're not backing down. Packing my suitcase to return felt different this time. I wasn't retreating. I was reclaiming. When I pulled into the driveway of my home, my heart thudded in my chest. The house looked the same, yet different somehow, as if the weeks away had shifted my perspective. Caroline's car was there, and I knew she was inside. I took a deep breath, clutching the folder Mark had given me with copies of the injunction and supporting documents, and walked through the front door. Caroline was in the living room, sitting on the couch with her laptop open, just as she'd been the night of our last confrontation. She looked up as I entered, her expression a mix of surprise and irritation. "So, you're back," she said, her voice flat. "I got the papers from your lawyer." "Nice move, Mom." "Really?" Stalling the inevitable, I stood tall, my grip tightening on the folder. "It's not stalling, Caroline. It's protecting what's mine. This house isn't just yours to sell. It's ours, and I have every right to fight for it. The court agrees there's an injunction in place now. You can't move forward with a sale without my consent or a judge's ruling, and I'm not consenting. I've also got documentation proving my contributions to this home over the years, both financial and otherwise. If you want to take this to court, I'm ready, but I'd rather we talk, really talk, before it comes to that. Mediation is set for next month. I hope you'll be there." Her face twitched, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her features before she masked it with a scoff. "Mediation? You think sitting down with some stranger is going to change anything? I've been carrying this house for years, Mom. I've got the receipts, the proof. You can't just waltz in with a piece of paper and think you've won. I'm not giving up on this sale. It's my future. Even if you can see that." I stepped closer, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside me. "I see more than you think, Caroline. I see a daughter who's hurting, who's angry, who's pushing me away for reasons I don't fully understand. But I also see someone who's wrong to think money can replace what this house means. It's not just about the past, it's about family, about the life your father and I built for you. I'm not fighting to hold you back. I'm fighting to hold on to what we had, what we could still have if you'd let me in. Tell me why you're so desperate to sell. Is it really just about money, or is there something else?" "I'm here, Caroline. I've always been here." For a moment, she didn't speak. Her eyes dropped to the floor, and I saw her hands clench into fists. When she finally looked up, there was something raw in her expression, something I hadn't seen in months. Vulnerability. "You want to know why?" she said, her voice quieter now, trembling at the edges. "It's not just about money, Mom. It's about everything. After Dad died, I felt like I had to grow up overnight. You were so broken, so lost in your grief, that I had to be the strong one. I didn't get to be a kid anymore. And then, when I started working, I took on more and more of the bills because I didn't want to lose this house either. But it's suffocating me. Every month, I'm drowning in debt just to keep it. And I can't do it anymore. Selling it feels like the only way to breathe again. And yes, I've been angry. Angry at you for not seeing how hard it's been, for not stepping up when I needed you to. I know that's not fair, but it's how I feel." Her words hit me like a tidal wave, each one carrying a weight of pain I hadn't fully grasped. I'd known she'd struggled after Robert's death, but I hadn't realized how much she'd buried, how much she'd carried alone. Tears welled in my eyes, but I didn't look away. "Caroline, I'm so sorry. I didn't see it. Not the way I should have. I was so consumed by my own grief that I didn't realize how much you were hurting too. But selling the house isn't the answer. We can find another way together. I have savings, small as they are, and I can start contributing more. We can work with a financial advisor, refinance the mortgage, anything but losing this place. And more than that, I want to rebuild what's between us. I've lost your father. I can't lose you too." She didn't respond right away, her gaze distant, but I saw the conflict in her eyes. The room was silent, the air heavy with the weight of everything we'd laid bare. Finally, she nodded, just once, a small gesture but enough to give me hope. I'll think about mediation," she said softly. "I'm not promising anything, but I'll show up. That's all I can give you right now. It wasn't a full victory, but it was a start. Over the next few weeks, we existed in a fragile truce. Caroline stopped leaving notes, stopped pushing the sale, and when the mediation date arrived, she was there. It wasn't easy, emotions ran high, and there were moments I thought we'd walk away with nothing resolved. But with Mark's guidance and the mediator's help, we reached an agreement. Caroline would remain a co-owner, but I'd take on a larger share of the bills. Using a combination of my savings and a part-time job I'd started at the library again. We'd also work with a financial planner to manage the house's costs, ensuring neither of us felt overwhelmed. Most importantly, the house would stay in the family, unsold, a testament to the life we'd built. The legal victory was clear, documented in the mediation agreement, but the moral victory came later, in small, unexpected ways. One evening, as I was sorting through old photos in the living room, Caroline joined me. She didn't say much at first, just sat beside me, her presence a quiet acknowledgement of the steps we'd taken. Then, she picked up the scrapbook I'd tried to share with her months ago, flipping through the pages slowly. "I remember this," she said, her voice soft, pointing to a photo of her and Robert at her 10th birthday. "He made such a big deal about this book. I'd forgotten how much it meant to him." I smiled, tears prickling at the corners of my eyes. "It meant a lot to me too. And so do you, Caroline. I know we've got a long way to go, but I'm glad we're here, together." She didn't reply, but she didn't pull away either. It was enough. Even Jake, who'd been a silent spectator for so long, started to shift. One day, as I was gardening in the backyard, he approached me, his usual awkwardness replaced by something like regret. "Ellen, I'm sorry I didn't step in earlier. I should have said something when things got bad. I just didn't know how. I'm glad you and Caroline are working things out. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know." His words, though late, were a balm to the isolation I'd felt. I nodded, offering a small smile. "Thank you, Jake. It means a lot to hear that. We're all learning, I think. With the conflict behind us, I found a moment of peace in a simple, symbolic act. One sunny afternoon, I took Robert's old watch from my keepsake box and placed it on the mantel beside our family photos. It was a small gesture, but it felt like a reconnection to him, to the strength he'd always given me, and to the family we'd built in this house. I stood there for a long time, the sunlight streaming through the window, casting a warm glow over the room. For the first time in months, I felt like I was home again, not just in the physical space, but in my heart. And so, the storm passed, and justice, though hard won, prevailed. This house, these memories, they're safe now, a testament to the fight for family, for love, for what matters most. If this story touched you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please, leave a like if you felt the weight of this journey. And in the comments, tell me, have you ever had to fight for something or someone you couldn't bear to lose? How did you find the strength to keep going? Share your stories with me. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more stories of resilience and hope. Until next time, take care.